Hi, folks. Welcome. It's just the top of the hour by my clock. We'll give folks just a minute or two to file in and find the link and search through the email and all the things that, well, you obviously already did if you're joining us here today. But I will start by saying welcome. Thank you for joining us. If you're just coming online and joining us, this is the IIIF online meeting. We're really happy to have you. If you're staying on, we had the newcomers session just before this, and so hopefully that was a great way of getting familiar with the basics of IIIF technology and implementations out in production, as well as the structures of the community and the consortium. Happy Tuesday. Thank you, Julian. Yeah, this session is the plenary. And this is really about some updates happening within the community and the consortium, and on the technical side as well. An exciting announcement about some new specification work that's been completed. And so let's see, we're still just 1 minute over. That's what we're going to cover today, are some of those basics. But I will reiterate, as I said earlier, just want to say thank you up top for your interest in the work that IIIF does and the ongoing updates. And so I'll do a lot of the talking today. You'll also hear from my colleagues in the IIIF Consortium, but really a lot of the work that we're talking about wouldn't be possible without so many of the contributors in the community. So a lot of folks I know are joining us here today, but some will be watching the recording. All the way from just folks who sit in on our community meetings, all the way up to volunteers and contributors who help edit the specification and submit user stories and do all the work that goes into refining the open specifications that make IIIF work. So thank you on all fronts. We couldn't do it without you. Folks who do the training and advocacy on their own in their own institutions and in their own regions. That's really critical work. So thank you. This is a reflection of your work as much as it is the community and the consortium. So let me get back to the slides here. Okay, so why don't we dive into it? Our goal is to talk for about 35 or 40 minutes here, including all the updates. We'll leave a few minutes for questions at the end, and then we want to leave about a 10-minute break before the top of the hour, so that folks can stretch their legs, get a drink of water, and when I say folks, I also mean myself. I will get a drink of water and stretch my legs before hosting the next session. So welcome. This is the first official IIIF online meeting. I'll get to what that means in just a moment. But just to set some info up at the top, we are recording all the sessions. This session is being recorded. Zoom should have notified you of that when you came in. But these sessions will be available later. We're going to put them on YouTube as quickly as we're able. So if you have colleagues who you might want to share this info with, look for those recording links that we'll send out to registered attendees. There is a Slack channel set up that can serve as a bit of a back channel to this. So if you're already on Slack, that channel is 2022 online meeting. If you're not on the Slack and you would like to be, good news is it's free and easy to join. You can use that link at bit.ly/IIIF-Slack, and that will it's a quick thank you, Caitlin, for pasting that in. It's a quick form that will get your information, and then we'll get you an invitation to join our Slack channel. If you need help either during the session or really in any way related to IIIF, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can use that email address, staff@iiif.io. We'll take a look as soon as we're able. During the course of this, you can also use the chat function if you have any issues. On that front, we are not completely sure what the reason is, but there are a lot of people who seem to get named by default Caitlin Perry. And while there are probably multiple Caitlin Perrys in the world, we think there's probably a number of people on this meeting who are not actually named Caitlin Perry. So you should be able to rename yourself. We're not really sure what the root of that glitch is, but if you are able to figure that out, I think you can right-click on your name in the Zoom interface and be able to rename yourself. That really just helps us. Well, it helps us have less confusion about the IIIF staff member named Caitlin Perry, but also for things like adding links in the chat and elsewhere for asking questions later. It's a little bit less confusing if we don't have, I see probably like 24 Caitlin Perrys. It's very weird. And if you know why that's happening, email us at staff@iiif.io. So with that, maybe we can dive into some of the other pieces here. So this event, like all of our events and our meetings and all of our spaces, is governed by the IIIF Code of Conduct. You've seen this if you registered for the events, but just to reiterate that IIIF events are meant to be free from all forms of harassment and welcoming to all people. If you'd like to review it, again, you can read it at that URL, iiif.io/event/conduct. Yeah, and thank you for taking a look. So I said this at the very top, we've actually already discussed Caitlin Perry, but just to give you a sense, you'll hear from all three of us over the course of this meeting, but this is the staff of the IIIF Consortium. So there's myself, my name is Josh Hadro. Really happy to be here with you all. I'm the managing director of the IIIF Consortium, and actually just did the math. I've been here 4 years as of a few weeks ago. So I oversee kind of the large scale affairs of the IIIF Consortium. I work with our governance structures, the executive committee and the operating committee to guide the work of the staff and our connection to the community. Yeah, and helping organize and support all those efforts. And then you'll hear from also from Glenn Robson, the technical coordinator for IIIF, who does just a tremendous amount of work across the technical side, our own infrastructure, as well as facilitating a lot of training and integrations and connection to our consortium members. And then the newest member of our group, Caitlin Perry, the community and communications coordinator. You've already probably seen some of her great work, supporting a lot of engagement with our groups in different ways and events. And so to that point, I want to particularly welcome Caitlin. You'll hear from her in just a bit about some of the work that she's been on. It's only been a few weeks, but already hitting the ground running. In fact, such great work that we have a couple dozen Caitlin Perry's joining, which is just tremendous. So she comes to us from the Educopia Institute. We're super excited to have her on board. Yeah, and to have all of you meet her in the course of the different work that IIIF community groups do, and our in-person event coming up in Naples, in Italy in 2023. So if you haven't already, give a wave to Caitlin in a meeting or elsewhere. Yeah, and welcome aboard. We're so excited to have you. So a little bit about this meeting. If you've been in the IIIF community for a while, this is certainly not the first online event that you've experienced or you've joined us on. But I do want to explain a little bit. We've shifted a little bit of the terminology related to meetings, and so and a lot of this is coming not just as a result of a pandemic era online meetings and presentations. So the terminology we use for this meeting is the IIIF online meeting. And that we arrived at. I mean, maybe we're open to workshopping that. If you have another suggestion, let us know. But the reason we call it that is that for most of IIIF's history, we used to meet about 2 times a year in person. These, as the community was smaller, these were smaller gatherings, but we would usually meet for the annual conference in late spring, early summer, and then we would do a fall working meeting that was in person. And with those meetings, they usually went back and forth from North America to Europe and the UK. And that worked amazingly well. It built the IIIF community up to the point that it is at now, and the really robust body of institutions that make use of IIIF and support the consortium. But even before the pandemic, we were already trying to figure out basically ways to have more equitable participation in the IIIF community. So in-person conferences are tremendous. I think we all kind of appreciate a lot of the value that that brings, but it obviously was not the way that a huge percentage of the IIIF community was going to be able to participate and bring new ideas to specification conversations and learn best practices from their peer institutions. So even before the pandemic began, and of course we, like every organization, had to do a quick pivot to doing exclusively online events, but we're now back in a rhythm where we are formally moving to a hybrid model. And I don't necessarily mean hybrid for each particular event, but what I mean is that we are still going to pursue as safely as we can that annual in-person gathering. And so we are planning to meet in person in Naples and Italy in June of 2023. We also officially are doing future iterations of this. So online conferences, official online meetings, and not meant to be kind of afterthoughts, but really first flight online events that bring in interested parties who otherwise wouldn't maybe be able to travel or participate that way. So we'll be doing our in-person annual conferences. We'll be doing this online meeting around now in late fall, or the dates might change a little bit for next year. But of course, we're not abandoning the technical specification work. So that is such a critical part of how IIIF works also. But we're hoping to, instead of make that just one annual meeting a year where technical specification work happens, we're hoping to foster those meetings and in person and online as needed and as we can. And part of that is aligning those with like-minded gatherings. So some of the examples that we've already talked about is aligning with Europeana Tech when it happens next year, and there are other cases like that. So to that end, if you are helping organize a meeting and you think there might be a lot of IIIF interested parties as part of that meeting, let us know, and we'd be happy to see if we can support that and maybe tack on a half day or a day that's related to furthering the IIIF community and specifications. And so about this meeting, also, just the first in this line of online meetings, I want to say a quick thank you to the volunteers that we had that helped us shape the program here. So Allison Harvey, Mark Baggett, and worked with us with Caitlin, Glenn, and myself to put this together and settle the program and bring it to you. So thank you to those folks. And a little bit too, I want to basically touch on or bring in some of the history here, because while in the newcomer session, I think we talked a lot about a lot of the newest and most interesting work. I also kind of want to just say a historical thank you and sort of shout out to the beginnings of this entire ecosystem and movement. And so this is I'm making use of this how it started meme. This is how it started. These are some of the web artifacts that we were able to find related to the beginnings of IIIF, and in fact, before it was called IIIF. So it was this shared canvas notion, and this is a view into some of the early information sharing site for some of the Mellon funded work that went into shared canvas from Los Alamos and Stanford and others. That and shared canvas quite literally evolved into the presentation API that became IIIF. And so this other diagram, it's a little hard to see, but it is an artifact from one of those early in-person meetings, and just as an early view into what can happen when a group of folks sitting around a table really commit to an idea that is supported by institutions and by the community of contributors who are interested in solving like-minded use cases and sharing that information among each other. So really just a little bit more than 10 years since this happened. Really the beginnings are in 2011, but that brings us to where we are. So this is in some ways a reflection of the success, right? This is now years ago. This is our meeting in 2019, the last time we were able to have a large in-person gathering, but we had hundreds of people in a medieval building in Göttingen, Germany. just interested in talking about IIIF and working on the specifications and the community aspects. We had hundreds of folks gathering with us in Germany. We have hundreds of folks registered for this conference here online. And those people are coming to us from hundreds of institutions around the world. So we try to keep this map as up to date as we can. Of course, it's definitely out of date, or it's not just out of date, but there are dots missing. So we actually love your help. If you want to take a look at this map, and if you see that there is an implementation, there's a dot missing, please get in touch with us. So you can go to it at bit.ly/IIIF map. But those institutions that you see in the background here, all the red dots are implementations that we know about, people making use of IIIF in software and displaying materials that way. And then the blue dots that you see on this map are the formal consortium members. So quite literally financially supporting the work of the staff members that you'll hear from today, and financially supporting the work of putting on events like this and doing trainings and providing scholarships and travel capabilities to bring people to our different events around the world. So really want to say thank you to those consortium members who make this possible. And with that, so we have 63 consortium members this year, and here are the newest members to join. So these are the folks who have joined us in 2022, and who are really making this possible. So joined us as associate members this year are the National Library of the Netherlands, the University of British Columbia Libraries, DB EcoSense System in Italy, and the newest of all the members, the National Library of Estonia. And joining as full members who are helping contribute to the steering aspects and the voting aspects of IIIF governance, and some of the technical ecosystem, are JISC and the Archives Hub based in the UK, as well as Northwestern University Libraries. So really grateful for these institutions. The support they offer is amazing. Obviously just having staffers spend time on IIIF and understanding it and contributing to the ecosystem is really important. But those institutions that go that next step and that actually then are financially supporting the work that we do, so that we can then lower the barriers to access to other institutions, so that we can bring on institutions around the world, and we can bring folks to conferences and provide scholarships for training and all of that. It's really critical work. And so with that, I will urge you, if IIIF has brought your institution value, I would love you to take a look at joining the IIIF Consortium. It sounds a little bit like a public radio pitch, but it is true that basically, if IIIF has saved you about 1 week of development effort, that's basically at the level at which the associate member level starts. So if IIIF has saved you, a few days of headaches of being able to implement software that you otherwise would have had to write yourself, or would have spent, dozens or hundreds of hours wrangling with, and instead it just works. That's the beauty of IIIF. And that's the kind of thing that we are doing every day to increase interoperability and increase the adoption around the world. So it's really the consortium members that enable us to do that work. So hopefully you can join us in that effort, and spread the word and help us bring that mission to digitize content around the world. I'm going to pause here and actually turn it over to Caitlin, so that you can hear from the newest IIIF Consortium staff member to talk about our conference in Naples and some of the upcoming events related to that.
Yep. Hello, all. It is nice to meet you. Josh, do you mind running the slides?
I don't. Sorry, I accidentally hit that, but there we go.
Yeah, as Josh mentioned, we are back in action all together in person in Naples for 2023. So that is slated to take place June 5th through the 8th. As in other in-person conferences, the first day will be a showcase for newcomers, and that is free and open to all, with workshops and meetings on the next 3 days. Okay, next slide. If you are planning to come to Naples, or if you are just hoping that maybe you will make it to Naples, we have reserved really a large number of hotels at very good rates that are convenient to the conference. But our local folks on the ground in Naples have assured us that those rates will go up and that they are only guaranteed through the end of January. So if you are considering going, we would recommend that you reserve a room, even if you have to cancel it later. And if you are interested in shaping the conference, we will be putting out a formal call for the program committee probably at the end of this week. But what we're looking for is volunteers who can help us shape the themes and develop the program for the committee. So that means reviewing submissions for sessions, panels, lightning talks, and coming up with what that final program will look like, helping us promote the event, and then after it is wrapped, kind of helping us with the logistics and helping us to evaluate any feedback that we get. So if you are interested in doing that, like I said, the formal call for volunteers will go out at the end of this week, but you can always email us at staff@iiif.io or send me a message on Slack and we'll get you on board. Okay, so I know we've just started this meeting. We still have the in-person meeting in 2023, but now is the time for us to start looking for hosts for 2024. We have a strong preference for institutions outside of Europe for the next meeting, but we are welcoming bids from a whole range of different institutions. The deadline for that is Friday, April 14th. And if you are considering this, please send us an email and we'll get back to you about what the requirements are for hosting the event, what a sample conference schedule would look like, and we'll send along a submission form that you can fill out. It is not a heavy lift to put in a proposal. So if this is something that you're interested in, please get in touch. Okay, and then just a brief overview for what we're going to do over the next 3 days. So we are already 3 lines down in this schedule. We're in the midst of the plenary. Each day we will have 1 Zoom meeting. So you don't have to jump from Zoom to Zoom. The same link will work each day. And we'll have it running from 10 a.m. Eastern time until the end of the event each day. So after this, we'll have a 10-minute break. We'll move into lightning talks and then another 10-minute break before we get into the design and community group showcase and panel. Okay. Tomorrow, similar schedule. We have the IIIF Commons project, from user stories to specifications, how the IIIF process works. And that's a session with the IIIF editors. And then after a break, we will do the IIIF 3D group showcase and update, and then another session of lightning talks. Day 3, we'll have a session with the MAPS group as well as the museums group. And then our final session for this 3-day meeting will be regarding the IIIF Consortiums and Communities Strategic Planning Project. After a presentation from our leadership group, we will break into individual working groups, and we can, you'll be able to provide input to the community about where we should go moving forward. And then I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to Glenn.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to talk about a few projects here that the community has been working on, but mostly I'm going to be signposting you to different sessions where you can hear the full details. The first one is HGJ2K, which is a new way of encoding JPEG 2000, which we've been testing to see if it makes a speed difference in working with images through IIIF. I definitely recommend attending the lightning talk tomorrow, and we found some really interesting results, comparing it with both regular JPEG 2000s and also pyramids TIFFs. The second part of work is the IIIF Prezi 3 work, which is a new Python library for creating and using version 3 of the presentation API. This has been a great community effort to write a library from scratch and has involved a core group of regular attendees and then an open hackathon to push it over the line so we could release version 1.0 in time for this conference. And then the final community project is a relatively new one, looking at creating a shared JavaScript components to make viewer development easier. The IIIF Commons community is both a GitHub organization, but also a community of developers looking to collaborate. You'll find a IIIF Commons channel on Slack, which you're welcome to join. And one of these collaborative developments we're looking at the moment is to build a thumbnail component, which can deal with a wide variety of thumbnail use cases. To hear more on IIIF Commons and also the IIIF Prezi developments, please join us at the session tomorrow. Next slide. IIIF cookbooks, they're another community initiative to help with the adoption of IIIF version 3. These are a list of community validated examples of how to use IIIF for various use cases. Each one has been written by a member of the community and has gone through a thorough review process before publication. This has been a really long running initiative, and now we're up to 51 recipes. And these include recent additions like linking a IIIF object to the source of a source web page. This can be really useful if someone using your manifest in a different viewer like Mirador or transcription tool and wants to get back to the institution that published it to find further information or related resources. Another recent recipe is looking at annotating particular layers in an image, and this can be useful for annotating X-ray or different types of versions of an image. Using parts of an image in a canvas shows how you can take parts of a IIIF image and embed them into the canvas. This can be useful for newspapers and other use cases. And then a development that we showcased in the last conference was this viewer matrix, where you could compare different viewers to see which recipes they support. And recently we've added 2 new viewers called Anona and Clover, and you can follow that link to see the full list of the different viewers that support version 3. On to the next slide. Josh mentioned this in the previous session about the training that we run. We're now moving to almost monthly sessions of the training held at various time zones to make them as accessible as possible. Over the last 2 years, we've run 18 sessions and managed to reach about 223 people. And it's great to see many of the people on the course are attending the conference now and also are now part of the IIIF community. We have various tickets available. We have fellowship, which are free and for underrepresented groups, discounted tickets for IIIF Consortium members, and also general tickets. And you can see in this graph, there's been a great mix of different attendees for each course. It's also an opportunity to reach out to areas of the world which are underrepresented in a community. And although the majority of the attendees have been from North America and Europe, it's been great to meet people from China, India, and lots of other places around the world. And next slide. And as well as the regular 5-day training course, we also have done a number of custom trainings this year. So we've done some custom training for the British Library, which enabled them to train over 60 staff in over 3 sessions through the British Library. We were able to customize a 5-day training course to suit their needs. We've also done a different training course for the Yale University, looking at after you've done the basics of IIIF, what's next? And so we had a look at making use of Exhibit, Amica, Zooniverse, and From the Page. And you can see a link to the training there. And we also worked with Europeana to do a special session for IIIF aggregators, looking at the basics of IIIF, and then also looking at how you can share it with Europeana. And the great thing about all these custom trainings is that all the content's available, which you're welcome to use, translate, and also give the training yourselves. And if there is custom training that you're interested in, please do get in contact with the IIIF staff. I think that's it.
Great. Thank you both of you, Caitlin and Glenn. All right, in the last little bit I will touch on here before we get to our specification news. Just to mention, there isn't a session in particular about the outreach group on the agenda for this week, but we do want to highlight that they are going to be looking at revamping the IIIF outreach materials that could use an update given some of the newest work in the IIIF world. So look out for that. And then they'll also be organizing a series of webinars, or actually continuing work that happened in 2022, very specifically related to how IIIF works in small institutions, and very much related to lowering the barriers. What kinds of tooling and other mechanisms and hosting options can we identify and write about and advertise that makes working with IIIF at an institution that doesn't say have a large scale development staff how can we make that that work a little bit more smoothly for small institutions? So get in touch with us if that's really of interest, and we'll make sure you're involved in that. Okay, and so I am going to turn it over in a minute to the co-chairs of the content search group to talk in detail about this. But just to say, this is really exciting. As of just literally a few minutes ago, we've published the newest version of our content search API. And this, this is just part of the amazing ongoing work of a huge number of people in the IIIF world. I'll let Dawn and Mike talk specifically about what it does and how it aligns with the other APIs, but that's really exciting, and hopefully we can put the link in the chat, as well as you'll see the link in the slides in just a minute. So we'll come back to content search in just a minute, but to give you just a little bit of view into some of the other technical work that is ongoing right now. There is work happening on the authentication specification, so bringing that in alignment with the 2.0, or sorry, the presentation API version 3. And along with that, there is work happening in the maps group to specify and describe a georeferencing extension that would allow the georeferencing of IIIF maps without having to do, without having to work with geotiffs and other sort of really complex geographic information system tools, just using IIIF and annotations. And then finally, I'll mention the work. There's a formal 3D group looking at how we integrate 3D models and shapes and all of those aspects into the IIIF ecosystem. So that's ongoing work. If you're interested, please get in touch. And that will end up being, a successful. The successful work of the 3D group will eventually result in presentation 4.0. So we're not announcing anything like that quite yet, but that's exciting work, and we hope you'll join us as we figure out how to get there. So with that, I will turn it over to Dawn and Mike. Do you guys want to host your own slides? Otherwise, I should refresh these if you want me to go through them. Should I ask that before?
I think either way should be fine.
Okay,
Oh,
let me let me click update. There we go. And now it should be fine. There we go.
Okay. I am unable to start my video, so I guess you won't see my face, but that's probably okay because you'll want to focus on the slides. And I apologize, I woke up with sore throat this morning, so it might be a little scratchy, but luckily I will keep my portion quite short. So if we can go ahead and advance to the next slide. So a couple of highlights. As Josh mentioned, the IIIF Content Search 2.0 is released. I need to add the link to that into the slide, but I will do that shortly. This 2.0 brings the API into alignment with the IIIF Presentation 3 API, and it does introduce breaking changes, which, excuse me, which Mike Bennett will go over in just a minute. And then Content Search 3.0, we'll begin that in early 2023. We want to get a jump on that as soon as possible. And this is going to build on 2.0, hopefully not add any breaking changes. That's the sort of the idea, is just to add additional functionality, especially for AV support. And so I'll turn it over to Mike to talk a little bit about 2.0, and then I'll come back in and talk about the roadmap for 3.0.
Hi everybody, am I coming through audio wise? Select.
Yep.
Zoom says you cannot start your video. Okay, that's fine. You don't want to see my face either. So yeah, hi, I'm just going to talk to you very briefly about some of the main changes we have here for Content Search 2. So as Dawn mentioned, the majority of this work was to bring the Content Search API into alignment with Presentation 3. So in Content Search 1, it's still using the open annotation model. So this was kind of the biggest change, along with the adoption of JSON LD 1.1. So now, as in Presentation 3 API, we have scoped contexts, language sets, and language maps. So it's now sort of fully JSON linked data. And yes, we have adopted the W3C web annotation data model. So this has come with some changes to how things are laid out inside search responses. But it does mean now that there's no longer this disconnect between the presentation API using one type of annotation and the search API using an older type of annotation. So this is a large breaking change, but also should be a code reducing change for consumers, because you now don't have to deal with two types of annotation. So the main changes as part of this has been obviously renaming the @ID and @type to just ID and type to allow JavaScript dot notation, and renaming within to part of and resources to items. So this is sort of bringing everything into alignment with how properties are represented in presentation 3. And similarly, we have deprecated the hits structure, which was part of Content Search 1, in favor of presenting the responses in two places, which is items on a sort of annotation page search result, and then annotations when we're providing additional information about them. So part of that, I'll go over it in the next slide. And so we also have property value and class changes. So as I mentioned before, we're bringing in the language map pattern for label and value. So this means everywhere you have labels that you now include the language the label is in. So allow you to specify the same data in multiple languages, consistent with the presentation API. We've changed a small change, term list, term page, and we've deprecated a few search API specific structures which were inherited from presentation 2, such as layer and annotation list, in favor of the standardized annotation collection, annotation page, also in Prezi 3. Next slide, please, Josh. So in terms of new features, we've added motivation, new for search API specific responses, which is contextualizing. So this is used in situations where you have annotations which may represent multiple results, or you may need multiple annotations to make up a result. So we have a structure wherein the actual annotations themselves are presented in the items structure, and then information about how to combine them to make your actual search results goes into annotations structure. And so as part of that, we also have included the highlighting motivation, which was already in the registry of motivations, but it's now kind of formally usage defined in the specification about how you apply that. For example, if you have textual results and you wish to sort of highlight something separate from the visual display on the canvas, so we provide a motivation you can use for that data. We've added some more definitions and clarifications to the specification, especially to do with embedded and referenced, and some information on how to declare the different services. And then in general changes, we've restructured the document a little bit for clarity. We've removed some content that talked about non-search API things, and we've improved the examples. So there's now quite rich examples for the different types of search response, and how you might look at combining those when you have rich text and a lot of information to present in your search results. So there is also, for the first time, a full change log for the content search API. So that's linked in the slides there, and also linked from the Search 2.0 main page on the API website. So that's just a very, very quick overview of some of the changes. The changelog is there, should cover everything. You can also find us in the search channel on IIIF Slack if you have further questions or clarifications, etc. So that's it from me. I'm going to pass back over to Dawn now to talk a bit more about the roadmap. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, yeah, so now we talk about the content search 3.0 roadmap. So we had a couple of goals for this. One is we really want to increase participation in the content search TSG. We are hoping to add an additional co-chair to add to the co-chairs that we already have. We'd like to identify and work with some institutions that are implementing search. We really want to focus in on features, improvements that the community most need and where we have community support. So to kind of distribute the work a little bit and make sure we're working with, real use cases that are immediate needs. And then, we hope to begin work on the new specification in late March 2023. There's a little bit of preparation that we want to do before that. So our next steps, if you go to the next slide, Josh, is we have a list of features that are in issues in GitHub, and that link will take you to those. And we've asked folks in the past to go in and read through those issues, and there's a comment in each one of those where people can give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or just not vote at all on the issues that they think are most important for them. And so I would invite anyone here to go and look at those issues that are with the search 3.0. Can't remember if it's a milestone or a label. And go through and read through those and pick the ones that you think are most important to you or to the community, so we can kind of focus our work. We also are putting together a survey on content search use. We meant to send that out today, but a number of things have come up since then and now, and so we hope to distribute this shortly after the online meeting wraps, and we'll continue working on that this week and get that out. So just to get a better sense of how the community is using it, what are the blockers to using content search, and again, asking about the features that are most important to the community. And let's see, we also want to have a community discussion. We are thinking this will happen at the January 10th search TSG meeting. Those are on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Pacific. I will get all the times in here, for the different time zones. But we'd like to invite anyone who's interested in content search or thinks they might be interested in content search to join us, so we can talk about, some of these issues. And then we'll put together the findings from the voting on the features, from the survey, and from that community discussion. And we'll use that, we'll share that out, but we'll also use that to draft an updated content search charter that we'll use for development of 3.0 starting in March 2023. So if anyone is interested in becoming more involved, if anyone is interested in becoming, joining us as a co-chair, please reach out to us on Slack or via email, and we'd love to have you join. And I think that's it.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Mike. I am going to end the screen share here and just conclude with this. Well, first, both thank you and congratulations. It's really exciting. As I said, it's just continuous improvement in the IIIF ecosystem. So we're on pace to do a lot of great things. We've done a lot in the last year and on pace to do a lot more in the coming year related to content search and others that we mentioned earlier. So congrats, Mike and Dawn, to the IIIF specification editors, and all the folks who contributed with feedback and use cases to bring that specification to fruition. So really exciting to have that published today. And so that really concludes what we had in terms of community and consortium updates for this plenary session. We have a few minutes. We want to end at 10 of, but we have a few minutes for questions. But before I do that, just reiterate my thank you to all the folks for your interest here today, for your interest in hearing about what we've been doing and the ongoing work, and the folks that are supporting that at the consortium level. And we hope you'll join us for the next session, which is the lightning talks, or the first batch of lightning talks that we have starting at the top of the hour. So thank you for joining us, and we have about 5 minutes for questions if there's anything that that myself, Caitlin, Glenn, or Dawn and Mike touched on. Happy to answer questions, or we can go into our break before the top of the hour. And either put questions in the chat or feel free to use the raise hand function, and we can do it that way. So Peter's got a question in the chat. Does Content Search 2.0 give attention to static implementations? Maybe Mike, Dawn, is there a good answer to that?
Sorry, Peter, can you clarify what you mean by static implementations?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking of situations like Jekyll and Wax, and so having pre-compiled JavaScript responses or JSON responses to serve content searches.
So I don't immediately see any reason why that would not work. Obviously, the main driver for the response is from the queue, from the query parameter. But if, for example, you had your sort of word list or term list from your OCR, you could pre-generate all of the possible responses that people might search for and serve them, as long as they were at the right URL, as it were. There shouldn't be any reason why that wouldn't work.
Okay, thank you. I'll give it a try.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks, Peter, for the question. And the last thing I'll say, it sounds like maybe it's an interesting use case to bring to the content search group on January 10th. You know, or use GitHub and add the use case, and we can make sure that we go through the details that that you're interested in. Great. Any other last questions in the last few minutes before we break for the top of the hour? Big question in general, I see in the chat, but assuming content is being cached, is there a method for refreshing the cache? Again, I'm going to ask Dawn or Mike if there's what the response to that would be.
Is this to do with search result caching? If so, I think that's up to the viewer implementation about whether or not they cache search responses. The API tries not to be, in line with the rest of IIIF APIs, tries not to be prescriptive about how viewers choose to implement interfaces or ways of using the API, but rather just here is how the content should look and the responses you should expect from a service serving these responses. So caching is a client-side concern.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Maybe time for one more if there's anything folks have in mind, but of course we always have the Slack channel. You can reach out to us, staff@IIIF.io. We're happy to help. All right, we'll give it one more minute if folks are typing into the chat box. If I see one, I'll ask it, but otherwise, I will reiterate my thanks to you all. This is really great. We're really excited to see so many people interested in the work, and some longstanding community members I can see in the list of names, but also a lot of newcomers. And so that's really, again, that's really the vibrance of the IIIF community is sort of that constant influx of new use cases, new institutions, new material types, new people just bringing a lot of new energy to the IIIF ecosystem, and not just in terms of software and collections, but also the community groups that we talked about earlier. So content search is a great example. If that's a use case your institution has, as John mentioned, please get in touch. We'd love to invite you as a co-chair or start those discussions. So get in touch with us if that's of interest. And with that, we're going to take a break to the top of the hour. We will have 6 lightning talks in our first session here. There's more tomorrow. So thank you for joining us. This has been really great. So that's the end of the plenary. And thanks for your interest and attention. We'll be back at the top of the hour, and take care.